And it's clear now that pressure is mounting on the Finance Ministry to review its stance on the inclusion of individual bondholders to the domestic debt exchange program. Well, today the former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo joined pensioner bondholders picketing at the Finance Ministry affected by the program. The retired justice described the debt exchange program as wicked and unlawful. She spoke to my colleague James Kwesi Aveji.
Administrators, they should rather be looking at parts of what they are in place to do, what they get paid to do, where they can cut on expenditure, they can cut on waste. They have not even come to prove to us where they've identified wastage and what is being done about it. You and I, you walk around and you see a lot of waste all along. And you don't want to do anything and you want me to take a haircut. I don't know, with a little bit of hair left on my head, I want it on my head. I'm not going to take a haircut. And I'm not encouraging any Ghanaian to take a haircut. Patriotism is on various levels. And I think most of us have already chalked 99% of patriotism at this time in our lives. So don't let some young whippersnapper come and tell us to cut our expenditure and things like that. And it's not even as if most pensioners are living in luxury. All they've done is to shore up their monies in such a way that that added to their if they are earning pensions from their former places of employment, how they can have room to maneuver. Who said old age has to end up in poverty? It shouldn't. And it is because of that people invested. And so, because a long time ago, an auntie of mine, who everybody used to call auntie, even in the village where she used to, she said, yes, it's because I've built a nice house in the village. Even though I live there by myself, everybody calls me auntie. If I was living here in poverty, they'll call me a witch. Yes. So we don't want to be dependent grandparents and old people. We want to be self-reliant. And that is why these investments were made. That's all. So they should stop. They should come again. And even then, all that they should come again to tell us is that they're not touching our pensions. That's all. There's nothing else to be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. God bless you, madam.
I think into government bonds. And now, all of a sudden, it's a contract, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And you virtually want to, at gunpoint, force them to agree with you that the repayment or the yield of their investment should be as you dictated. As you dictated. Why? And at the same time, why are we in the mess we are in? Nobody has fully explained to us. Yes, debt. Okay, fine. We took debts. What was it used for? Where's the accountability? Exactly what was it used for? You're not telling us about how you're going to be able to make things better, but just that help me and I help you. No, you help yourself first. Let me see you doing something serious. Because we've seen these sort of things too many times. I'm over 70 now. And I'm no longer a government employee. My mouth has been ungagged and I'm talking and I'm saying what I feel. And it's important that the elderly in this nation should be respected. One, I find this wicked, I find it disrespectful, I find it unlawful, I find it totally wrong, period. Because you don't solve your problems by sacrificing your aged. That's the last thing you should do, especially when you don't have any services that are specially geared at the comfort and the relief of the aged. The national insurance system has virtually collapsed. the elderly are buying their medications at normal commercial prices. And I know a lot of people who have told me that they have timed the way they did their the investments so that at least every month there's something for them to be able to cover their medical bills with. Now people are asking pharmacists, oh, can I, is it safe for me, instead of 2, can I take 1 a day? Or if instead of 1, can I take half a day? How long can I continue like that before having a bad effect on me? Should it come to that after years of faithful service to the nation? So the Minister of Finance had better go back to the drawing board and come back with a better proposal, because otherwise nobody is going to. I'm encouraging people not to agree to sign up to anything. Yes, and if need be, we can all go to court. That's all. A contract is a contract and it has to be respected. And if you want to renegotiate it, come to the table, one, with humility, and come with a yesable proposition, not take it or leave it. Yes, it's all of us, it's our duty to shore up our economy. But we voted government into power to take care of our economy. So we should see where the due diligence is before you tell an aged person to lend you money. Please, they should come again. This doesn't start, it's a non-starter. The only solution. And in any case, it's not a lawful solution. So they should not even go there. Because if they change the law today, it will not affect what has already accrued.
And so, as a lawyer, what are the legal perspectives? Are there any remedies for this bondholder? Should government still maintain the position they have taken?
They can take them to court because there's a contract. And the contract said something. You did not, certainly in what I signed up, there was no clause in there which says when the government becomes and thinks it has become bankrupt, it will not pay you. So long as government has properties, I can sue them and I can claim my entitlements through there. But it should not come to that. I'm a Ghanaian citizen. There's today, but tomorrow Ghana will continue to exist, with or without Kenufuriata and so on and so forth. But deal fairly, deal respectfully, deal properly with people whose rights you know you're trying to trample on, and you're trying to use cajolement and dubious arguments and sentimentality. Listen, when you are old, when you're a pensioner, when you know where every penny you spend and need comes from, sentiment does not arise. It's what is right that matters. So the years we've got left, by God's grace, let us live those years according to how we had, after many years of working faithfully. I think everybody here and every pensioner worked faithfully. We should allow faithfulness to pay. Faithfulness, principles, excellence, we should allow it to pay. And even if the government will not allow it to pay, people have invested the fruits of their excellence. And you want to throw it away because you think you can. No, you can't. He cannot. It's not lawful for him to do it, period.
Well, the former Chief Justice drew the attention of the Finance Minister, who later invited leadership of the Individual Pensioner Bondholders Forum for a meeting. What was that conclusion after the engagement? Here's Dr. Edu Ananientwi with details.
The Minister tried to explain the issues at stake, which we all know. There are things that we all know, especially when you opt out of this exchange and the treatability of your bond. That is a concern of the minister, that if the pensioners do not come under and get a new one, if you are holding your old bonds, and there is a need for you to sell and get some money, maybe emergency, you have difficulty getting value for that. That is the tradability, the problem of tradability. That's the meaning of that. So the minister thinks that he has that feeling for bondholders, especially the pensioners, that if you hold on to your old bonds, the tradability issue would come when you want to sell your bonds. So that is fine. The explanation is okay. But we also told him that we have explained that to our members, that if we continue to hold on to the old bonds, and as the new bonds come into the market, the old bonds, the tradability will be a problem because of the tag that is associated with it, that government may be unable to honor its obligation and that kind of thing. So tradability will be there, problem of tradability. But our members are saying that they don't have a problem if they cannot trade their bonds. And they didn't buy the bonds to trade. They bought these bonds to hold on to maturity. What they are interested in is the coupons that they will be receiving. And in fact, some of them has already indicated that if he took even 15 years, he is not going to ask for that 15 years money to do anything. Many people might have bequeathed it to their children in their wills. That look, if I'm not there, I have a bond. Go and take the proceeds of the bonds. So while they are alive now, what they are thinking about is the coupons that will be coming to them regularly for them to buy, especially their medication. And if his coupon, he was already having, let's say, 25, 26, 28, 20, and now you are bringing it to 15, that is where the challenge is. So they don't care. And we told the minister, our members have even asked us to tell you that don't worry about the tradability. Don't worry about them, that they might not be able to trade their bonds if they want to trade it. They say that one, leave it to them. They don't want you to take that on as your part of your problem. Leave it with them. Let them be there and service their coupons. He also maintained that, well, it is voluntary, so you may opt out if you don't want. And I have to also argue that there's a difference between government exempting you or the issuer exempting you from this restructuring and you yourself opting out. I have worked in the market. The minister has also worked in the market. So I believe the two of us, we know that exemption is different from coming out of the exercising your option. And I say, if the issuer exempts you from a restructuring, the issuer is telling you that for these debts, I don't have a challenge. I can handle whatever there is that I have to handle. That is why I am not restructuring it. That is what exemption means. These ones I can handle. I owe 2 million. I can handle 500,000. So for this 500,000, I won't restructure. The ones I cannot handle is what I'm restructuring. So that is exemption. But when the ones that I'm going to restructure, you decide not to come under it, you yourself decide that you want to opt out of that, that has not been exempted. That is one or two of holders. You are one of two holders or one of the holders of those bonds that I have said I may have some challenges handling the coupon and the principal payment. That is why I am restructuring. So if you don't come under that and there is a problem, then you ought to have known already that yes, the issuer said he may have challenges. That is why he was restructuring. And so if I didn't go under it, then I stand a risk, if it ever comes, that the issuer might not be able to pay. But if you have exempted me, then the issuer has given the assurance that for these bonds, for these days, I don't have a problem handling them, so I don't want to restructure. The minister thinks that, well, it will come to a time that by, preference, you may have preference for something, or some people will have to be treated priority. If you owe people and you are paying, your money can cover, or you go by priority. What do I do first? What do I do first? I say, well, that is fine. But if you have exempted me, at least I know I have a priority over the person who you didn't exempt, but he kept on holding it. So please exempt us so that we know we are in that category of exempted bonds, but not in the category of we opting out of the bonds. So please do the exemption for us. So we have said all this thing to the minister, that what we want is the exemption. There can be risks why you have exempted us, but I said the risks that will be associated with the exempted bonds is much, much lower than the risk associated with those that were not exempted, but you decided to keep out of the exchange. So that is what we have discussed, and we have said we want the exemption. So you should look at his figures and look at that and come and tell us. Otherwise, we will keep on exercising our rights to be picketing here.
What was his final decision?
Well, he hasn't gotten any other response to show that he thinks that we should take, and we say, well, our members have looked at all. Your main concern of tradability, they say don't worry about tradability. They are not interested in that. They want to keep their coupons, their bonds, and get their coupons as they are getting. But if you exempt us, we are more assured than if we decide to opt out.
Okay, so no finality to the matters here, and we're still inching closer, just hours away from that final deadline. We don't know if that will be the final one, but let's broaden the conversation now. I want to bring in Professor John Gachi, economist at the University of Cape Coast. Felix Kwame Nyako, Dr. Felix Kwame Nyako is a senior lecturer at the Nobel International Business School, and Daniel Ochema-Boaji is former government spokesperson on finance. Of course, later on, George Wiafi will be giving us updates on what's likely to happen, and Dr. Anani Entry is also the convener for the individual pension bondholders. Quite a packed day today. We'll unpack all of the matters happening now. George, if you are on with us, just give us a bit of an update, because that's critical to us. I'll bring in George shortly to give us the next line of action, likely what the finance minister may be doing in the next few hours. But let's hear from the pensioner bondholders as well. Probably something has changed in the last few hours. Dr. Anani, thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. Do we have any updates? Of course, you've told us that after your engagement with the finance minister, no concrete evidence that indeed there'll be an exemption. Do you have any updates now from your outfit?
Thank you, but you are attempting to change my surname. The surname is Entry.
Okay, Dr. Entry, yes.
Yeah, we had our usual 1 hour picketing at the ministry today. Once we were there, and today we had the former Chief Justice joining us. Madam Sufa Akufu. He joined us to in solidarity with her colleague retirees.
Right.
Even though he stated that he is not impacted too much as we are, but once some other friends and colleagues are impacted, felt that it was right that we come and show solidarity for our cause. So while we were there, we were informed by the chief director that the minister wanted to have a meeting with us, but it was in a meeting, and as soon as he finished, he let us know. We waited, and when it was getting to 11, we've assured our members that we will convey there for only 1 hour. Many of them have to leave and go to their homes as we are getting to the afternoon to take their medication. So we didn't want to let people be there for more than 1 hour. So when it was getting to 11, I personally called the chief director and said to him that we are about leaving. The minister was still occupied, and can only meet leadership. So we closed, and when everybody was gone, 3 of us, myself and 2 other people, joined me to the minister's office to hear what he has to tell us. But the minister just said, just as if what he has been saying always, that the tradability of our bonds is a major issue that is concerned with, that if we still don't accept the new one and we are still the old, and if an old person, a time comes for it that you wanted to sell your bonds and realize some money to do one or two things, it will be difficult for you. So that is what he thinks our members should take note of in our
and these were the words of the finance minister to you, but,
yes,
but no
yes.
clear indication on whether or not
Yes.
you'd be
Yes.
exempted.
And we said to him that, well, it's not that we haven't explained the issues to our members. Especially given my background as a securities market regulator, I understand all this. And I've explained to them that if we hold on to our old bonds, the possibility is that when we want to trade with in the market marketability will be a problem, especially when that tag of possible default is with that bonds rather than the new ones that doesn't have that the new one the new bonds that do not have those that tag to go with. But our members have said that the minister should not worry himself about tradability because they are not interested in trading their bonds. All that they are interested in is holding their bonds until maturity and getting their principal. So their interest is in their principal before payment and not going to sell their bonds to get back their money. So they shouldn't worry about that. And they don't want him to have that as a problem. So we are speaking to the minister. The minister, again, was also of the guide not to come under the program. And I also responded that, well, the minister is a market player. I mean, capital market, securities market. Yeah, it used to be. Once you work at the, and I'm saying there's a difference between when the issuer has exempted you from a restructuring and where you have decided not to go under restructuring. Because if the
Okay, Dr. Henchu, we're having difficulties hearing your point, and the points you're making are crucial to the discussion that we're having this afternoon. But of course, if I understand what it is that you're telling us, all you want is an exemption. And that's why I want to bring in Professor John Gachi, because Prof, the issue about the tradability is always coming up. The finance minister now telling the pensioner bondholders that, well, even if you keep what's with you now, it's less likely that you may have interest in it because of its value. I mean, from an economic sense, is the minister making a point here?
Well, I think it's not making any point because the market was working until the minister's action distorted the market. So all that this category of bondholders are saying, yes, there is tradability issue, but the individual who bought bonds, in fact, some of them are not even aware that their bonds are trading. So all that they want is that if they are exempted, then they don't have any issue with what is going on. So I think the issue is all about exempting this category and treat them differently. Then all other bondholders can go through the exchange, and the issue of tradability will be relevant to them. So I think this is why the issue should be discussed. So it seems to me that the minister wants to use the issue of tradability to include everybody. And that is very disgusting, seeing the pensioners around as if we cannot do anything. In any case, the obligation we owe to these pensioners per Article 36 of our Constitution is to protect them, to protect the vulnerable in society. So that is the economic management objectives. So if your economic management would rather make these people more vulnerable and as if we cannot do anything about it, then it becomes very difficult to accept. So tradability is there, but these bondholders want exemption so that they could be protected.
What difference will the exemption make, and in what form should it be coming? Is it that we need a clearly signed document? Will that warrant the industry to accept this exemption? Is that what's necessary?
See, there are two issues here. Number one, it is voluntary. Now, when it is voluntary, all that it means is that if you want to participate, participate at will. But remember, we are talking about a contract that have been signed between the government and these people. And the contract says that government is obligated to pay principal at maturity and pay periodic coupon. It didn't have any clauses to factor in all these issues. So when you say it is voluntary and I don't take it, it means that all the terms surrounding my bond will remain valid. Then some people have realized that, look, the way you are speaking, you will not be able to give them what they require under the old bond. So if the minister were to state categorically it is voluntary, and that those who do not sign on to the debt exchange will have their bonds and their terms maintained, nobody will be picketing. So because these bondholders realize that if they don't sign, perhaps the minister will not even have any words for them. They will be going to look for their money, they will not be getting their money. So that is where the exemptions comes in. So exemption is only that, please, we are not part of the debt exchange program, and give us the assurance that you protect our investment, that the terms of our investment will remain the same.
Okay, but given the options that are available now, if an individual decides not to sign on, of course, the contract still stands. So the believers, you can go ahead and claim whatever is due you. Where would there be a difficulty?
It is difficult because the deputy minister said some time ago that you are on your own, which means that they will not prioritize your position. They will now be focusing on the new debt holders. So it means that the minister is saying it's voluntary, but they don't intend to protect those bondholders who will not sign on to the program.
Okay. Prof, just hold on for me briefly. Let me also hear from Felix and then Daniel Ochemabonche, who's a former government spokesperson of finance. I'll start off with you, Felix, because you, of course, are a lecturer. You understand some of these issues as well. If someone walks up to you to say, well, this is the option I'm facing now, the time is running out. In fact, we just have a few hours to know what the next line will be from government's perspective. What would you advise such a person to do? Sign on and at least know that indeed your savings will be safeguarded. What would you advise?
Well, yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and listeners. If it is me, if somebody walks to me, I would advise the person not to sign on. Not to sign on because, one, a contract is a contract. And for you to vary the terms of the contract, it must be agreed by both of us. So in this case, I expect government in all things should do a proper consultation with the individual bondholders. Let them understand where we are and why the need for us to do the debt exchange program. Either than that, my contract is contract and is valid. At least every month, if it is monthly, if it is quarterly, I need to receive my coupon rate, which I need to receive. But looking at how things are going, it's like at the government side, they are not also understanding what the individual bondholders are also going through. Somebody has invested for the whole life and want to be getting something at the end of the month. And you are telling me that this you can't get. And if you don't sign on, you are on your own. I mean, it doesn't add up well. You know, that is somebody's whole life investment. So I think that government must come on the board must come on a clean sheet, listen to the individual bondholders as well, take a critical look at what they are saying. Like, for example, what Prof said.
But you, the professionals, and of course, those of you who know about the workings in the industry, you do know that there's a risk to every investment you make. This is part of it, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
There is a risk, and most of the times, everybody that goes to, if you go and buy government bond, the risk involved is minimal, very, very minimal, because it is government, and we know that government comes, government goes, is government. So at the end of the day, definitely your principal plus interest will be paid at the end of maturity. Okay, so once it is government bond, the interest rate is the risk involved is very, very minimal. So in this case, all we expect government to do is to also listen to the individual bondholders. Okay, look, if I have signed an agreement with you that this is what I'm going to do, and at the end of the day, you are supposed to pay me this, and then along the line, you think that you want to vary that very contract you and I have signed, what do you need to do? You need to come to me. Okay, we sit down and agree on the way forward, not to just say that, look, if you don't sign, you are on your own. That is an arrogant poster.
Okay, but how about the point the finance minister made days ago? He says the economy needs to be stable so I can get the money to pay off.
The economy needs to be stable, but we are where we are because of of how the finance minister was able to manage the economy. Okay, when he was going on the borrowing spree, was he not told in the face that the way you are borrowing, you are gradually sending this country to a ditch? He never listened. He never listened. You understand? He went on the borrowing spree, and we are where we are today because of mismanagement of the economy by the same person who is telling us that today that we should come to terms with him. When he took over the reins of the finance ministry in 2017, what did he say? He said that he is going to manage the economy well. So if you fail to do so, and you expect me as an individual, my 12, okay, to just go like that, I will not agree. And these are the sentiments of the bondholders. The country financial ministry was given to you to manage, and you mismanage the economy to the extent that we are now a highly debt distressed country. And you want us to share in that burden? No way. I will not. Contracts are contracts. So you must go by the terms of the contract. And I share the sentiment of these individual bondholders, especially the pensioners. Some need this monthly coupon to survive. You understand? Some need it to survive. And if you are telling me that you will not pay me, then the president made it to understand that we know how to bring the economy back to life, but we don't know how to bring individual maybe people who may have died along the way back to life, isn't it? So therefore, for these pensioners to be alive, they need the coupon to be able to survive. Some need this to buy medicine. Okay, so for me, my advice is that the finance minister should listen to these individual bondholders. That wasn't the contract they signed.
Okay, but this is where I want to bring in Prof. Gachi once more, because Prof, to be fair to government hasn't said anywhere that they would not honor the old bonds. Why not give them the benefit of the doubt then?
I think you give the government the benefit of the doubt at your own peril, because body language, documents have spoken. Even the corporate entities are having problem because what they discuss is not what is in the document that they are supposed to have signed. So those issues are there. So it's like we are not truthful to the bondholders. So that is the issue. Of course, when a deputy minister comes out to say, that, look, if you don't sign on to this, you are on your own. What else do you want to hear? And when the finance minister told pensioners that you are excluded, and at another round he said that you are included, what do you want? What trust is left for the finance minister? There's no trust. So in capital market dealing, there should be some element of trust. That trust is eroded drastically. Then again, you were talking about risk, and we need to position that risk properly. You see, the bondholders have opportunity to go and buy share in some other company. But because we know the structure of risk is such that the structure of risk associated with bond is lower than that of shares. That is what they took to buy the bond. And also, the risk associated with government bond as opposed to other corporate bonds is that a government bond is lower than the corporate bond. So they have gone for the lowest, only to wake up one day to be told that your debt cannot be paid and we are going to restructure it. And you are not at the table. It was only restructured and imposed on you, as if government is no more a debtor. Government is a debtor, and the bondholders are creditors. So you need to go to them to agree with them as to what you want to do for them to buy in. And now that we are saying it's voluntary, those who don't buy in, you treat them as they deserve on their original bonds. That is what it means. All that the finance minister is saying, it doesn't make sense. It can only make sense when the individual bondholders agrees with him. If they don't agree, I do not think that we can press this forward further. And when we do that, then we become callous to the bondholders, especially the pensioners. And I said earlier on that the benefit of economic management to pensioners is for the state to protect them and to take them out for vulnerability. Now the state is behaving as if, even when you are dying, I want to solve a problem. How can you solve a problem? Are we at war? For you to solve a problem and many of your people will die? So I do not think that, and we are gracious because we are no more talking about corporate entities. We are only talking about individual bondholders and especially pensioners. I believe we can exempt these people and still go through the program.
But Prof, are we losing faith?
The idea of this debt exchange program, it shouldn't sound as if this is what IMF imposed on us. My understanding of the IMF program is that government brings a program, then they assess the program and see that it fit for purpose, they can run it. So government sent to IMF that, look, you need to do debt restructuring. You need to do domestic debt restructuring. And the IMF agreed, go ahead. But because of the critical nature of the debt exchange program, because of the effect that it will have on the economy, we want about 80% of the people to agree. So if you realize that you have hit this snag, you have to go back to the IMF and say that, look, I didn't conceive that we could exclude the individual bondholders. As it is, we have to exclude the individual bondholders. Will you make it 70? Will you make it 50? But I don't think that the finance minister is looking at that. Look at the engagement with the pensioner the other day. So the pensioner explained everything. He said that you need to share in it. That is problematic.
Okay, I'll come to Dr. Felix Nyako on the possibility, the fiscal space that the finance minister have, if indeed he has that, to make any change. Just last minute, we're just about 10 or 15 minutes away, technically, from that deadline again, the new one that was set by the finance ministry. We are waiting an official communication on this matter. Daniel Achemabwaji is a former government spokesperson on finance. He's former MP for Bantama. He's joining us via phone. And this is where, Daniel, many believe that your government is becoming unpopular with this domestic debt exchange program. Why not listen to the cry, if not of the people, at least from a group of, individuals who can't work anymore, who are on pension, and they need this savings critically?
Well, Blessing, let me say good afternoon to you and to your team and people that have gone before me on this program. For me, the bottom line is we have a problem at hand. We need to solve it. I sympathize with the pensioners and the individuals that will have to take a bit of a hit. But I don't think the finance minister is not looking at the options of looking at or talking to the fund again. I believe that if there was any opportunity, probably you could go back and tell them, maybe I can't do the 80%, I can probably do 70 or something lower than that. So for me, what it is that at the end of the day, we have a choice to make. And we have to decide, do you want to go forward or do you want to sign on or we don't want to sign on? If we don't want to sign on, we look at other options that we have to do. So yes, it's unfortunate. This is where we find ourselves. But I'm more interested in what we do to go forward. All right? Even when we say government should keep on cutting expenditure, whatever it is, it has effects on economic growth, as we all do know. Because government expenditure happens to be an injector. And that injects economic activity into the national income stream and create more and multiple income. Now that we have more taxes, you have debt exchange going on, people don't have a lot of disposable income. Yes, government should cut expenditure, all right, but we have to be mindful that we don't cut so much to hurt.
Okay, but the question, and right now, everybody's waiting for an intervention from government, and that's why we're dealing with that big question. The exemption, should it happen now?
That's the point I answered. I said, if the minister thinks that there's room to do this, I don't think he will hesitate. You know that when this program started, there has been consultations. The government was criticized, but limited consultation or no consultation. This program has been extended for a number of times. What do you think the government is doing? Talking to people? No, trying to reason with people that the government owes. The creditors, so to say. So I believe that they've gotten to a point where we need to close. And probably we will not be able to satisfy everybody. But the government has been listening, has been making amendments.
Let's go by the words of the finance minister himself. He says he's working with an 80% target. At least that's what he confirmed to us here on Joy News. And now, going by that calculation, of course, dealing with the securities, the banking sector, and some of the insurers, clearly that target has been met. Not so?
Well, I am not aware. The last time I heard...
We've seen an official memo on this matter, a communique from all of these bodies, clearly agreeing to be part of the debt exchange program. What we have now is a group of people who are within a range of 10%, minority, and the finance ministry could do something about it, isn't it?
Well, if the target is met, then we all appeal to the finance minister to reconsider the this group of people that we are talking about.
Are you appealing to the finance minister?
Oh, why not? No, we are speaking to both the bondholders, and also the government. Nobody is fighting this. No, the need to consult and talk to people in times like this is important. Very, very important, and nobody is shying away from that. So if there's opportunity to consider people who are retirement or go on retirement, why not? Why not? It is not a bad thing to do, but if there is none, then let's see what is it that can be done. So yes, both government and the creditors should look at what is going on to see whether or not we can have a compromise, so at least we can move forward. And that's where my position is. So if you say don't sign or sign on, at the end of the day, we have to move forward as a country.
Okay, yes. So what do you recommend from the perspective of the individuals? To sign or not to sign?
I recommend that the individuals should sign on to the bond so that we can move forward as a country. And once we sign, even if there's opportunity after the fact, I mean, we can have a conversation.
That's a contract, you're aware. That would be a new contract.
No. Let's bring it down. Let's just try to bring it down.
That's the facts of the case.
I get it. Contracts are, so to say, not. I don't mean any sort of any disrespect. No, not at all. But at the end of the day, if you make contract and you cannot annul it, you go back into restructure. For instance, if you owe me now and I take you to court, the court is going to look at your ability to pay to restructure the loan. Bottom line, that's it. You say, you know what, Daniel, your friend owes you 1,000 Ghana cedis. Looking at his cash flow, he can only do 500 Ghana cedis probably a month.
Are you clearly giving us a respite? What government is seeking to do now? Are you revealing that to us? The fact that even if you go to court, you may not have your
this
cash
is what
paid
happens
to.
in normal course of business. Even if you have an issue with an individual, like the example I just gave, you go to court, the court will look at the facts of the case and determine a restructuring plan for somebody to pay you. If you go to the U.S., for instance, there's something we call a form of bankruptcy called reorganization. All you say is that, you know what, my creditors, please, I owe you. I'm unable to pay now. Can you please give me time and let's vary the structure and the terms of the credit contract or the bond so I can pay. These are all allowed in business practice, in corporate world. All right? We are not saying it has to be, of course, like I said, I sympathize with the individuals who were putting their money in a risk-free environment, given all that was happening in the banking sector, especially with microfinances, to have gone through this problem. This is where we find ourselves. What can we do? The country. And that's why the finance minister, very humbly, said, please help me and let me help you.
Daniel Otema Boaji, the former Chief Justice says you are a bunch of wicked people as the NPP administration.
We are a bunch of what?
Wicked people, because of course you are still proceeding with the policy.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard her say that. But if that's what it is, I mean, totally that's her opinion. All right. I believe that we should look at the situation we find ourselves in and find a solution. All right. That is what I think we should do. As to what somebody will say or not say, definitely emotions are high. You can expect some of these things to happen. I'm not going to hold her for how she feels. No, I won't do that. But definitely, I believe that if there's a solution we can come up with from whatever quarters that will work for us, why not? The government has to reconsider its position, why not? If bondholders have to reconsider their position, why not? For me, the emotional issues that are coming out, those are expected, of course.
Okay. Dr. Felix Nyako, the issue about the fiscal space for government to operate in, if indeed we exempt this individual pensioner bondholders, is that looking too good on our books now? Kindly unmute so we can hear the points you're making, sir.
Right. Am I okay now?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. In all, the domestic debt that Ghana currently has is about 56.1%, okay, of our total debt, okay. So, and these individual bondholders, I must say maybe about maybe a little over maybe 5%. So if you have 56.1 and then you have just about 5% people who are individual bondholders, I mean, exempting them wouldn't be so bad. So when you exempt these people, at least the program would still go on, because let's not forget, you have the banks there, you have the insurance companies there, you have other corporate institutions out there. And if the finance minister is telling us that he's targeting 80%, I think by now, if you add the banking associations, the insurance institutions, and the other corporate institutions, we should be hovering about around the 80% that he's talking about. So exempting these individual bondholders, for me, I think that we still have the financial space for the program to move on. Okay, but my only worry is that if we really want to sort of reduce our debt, government must be seen to be doing what is right. Look, we are talking about debt restructuring, and yet we have government still appointing ministers. Look, go to Ministry of Trade. We have 3 deputy ministers. In this present day Ghana, government is spending money to go and have its Independence Day in the Volta region. And look at where we are now as a country. Can't we suspend the celebration of Independence Day looking at our economic situation? Government must be seen to be doing what is right. Then the citizenry would also, in one way or the other, support government so that the economy of Ghana will not crash. Okay, so for me, the individual bondholders should be exempted, and once they are exempted, it will not have any implication on the IMF deal that we are eager to sign in the near future.
Okay then, many of you have been commenting on this on social media. George Weafe is looking on, gathering the details for us as we're just about 3 minutes from the official closing hours. Will the government do an extension once more? We're set to find out shortly. Dr. Entry is still with us. Doc, I'll come to you shortly, but let's find out from my colleague George Weafe if there's any updates as of now. George, what are we learning?
Well, it's still working with what we picked up as a close of yesterday, doing a little over 70% in terms of participation. It looks like the collation, if I can use that loosely, is still ongoing on, but it appears that some exemptions had to be granted, and that is why government have to claw back. Initially, they were on their way to get more than 80%, but it appears that some restructuring again has to go on in terms of exemptions, and that would put them a little above 70%. So based on what we are picking up as of now, they are still over the 70% range, and it's likely that they might not hit the 80% mark in terms of their initial target that they were looking for to describe this offer or this domestic program as successful.
So why not collapse everything entirely and look for other options? After all, we're looking for the IMF program, and the IMF needs our intent. Why not revise that document now?
Revise as in the target, I would say it could be very difficult. I think that what everybody agrees is that Ghana's debt should be restructured. The argument is what form should it take and who or which grouping should be exempted. And if you, again, based on what we are picking up, we understand that government has made some significant progress in terms of the preconditions that are needed to get the IMF board approval. One important thing was about the publication of the Auditor General's support that has been done. Another one is also about the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana reaching an agreement with respect to zero financing. It appears that the legal document has been finalized, and then all other things being equal, very, very soon, the two institutions would approve that zero financing thing for government, and it will be taken to Parliament as well. Also, the utility tariff review, it has been done as well, and also some amendment to the laws in terms of how our extractive sector can be the fiscal regime. Understand that has also been done. So it appears that we made some significant, if I should do a percentage tracking in terms of those preconditions, we are about 80 to 90% in selling through those preconditions. And the only thing that is left right now is this domestic debt exchange program in terms of getting that commitment from the creditors that indeed they are committed to this whole financing arrangement. So I would say it is still early days yet to say that something can be done. Don't forget that you are also working towards getting a board meeting to approve or look at your program request.
So what are the options now? Any opportunity for someone looking on to sign the debt exchange, at least someone who's indecisive, looking at the time now, is it all over? Are there still opportunities for the person to explore?
I think that this might, if again you engage persons with knowledge of this whole transaction, looking at the numbers that they have gotten, I doubt that this thing will be extended again. Don't forget that window that was opened was for those who were in the process, those who had started.
Right.
They needed some permission from their board, shareholders, and all those things. I know about some grouping that are working to bring in almost about 1 billion Ghana cedis, that as of the afternoon, they were still in the process of submitting the necessary documentations as well. So I doubt that there'll be any window for any fresh request to be placed, but it appears that what they are looking at now would just be those who were in the process. But again, one thing you want to ask yourself is that, so what will happen to those who would not sign? From what we are picking up, if, let's say, Sogai did not sign, it appears that government will still meet its obligations to you. The only challenge will be is that when at that point you want to trade that bond, that is where the challenge is. So if you don't sign up, government is still going to meet its obligations to you in terms of the coupon payment. And that is what we are picking up for.
Right. We're still waiting for that to be official, though. But we're giving that's a bit of a hope for those who are out there wondering what may happen in the next few hours.
Well, this is what we are picking up from very credible sources as well.
Right, indeed. And you can always trust that. George Weafe, thank you for spending some time with us. Many of you on social media have been, of course, taking our polls as well. We'll get to that shortly. Dr. Entry, so from reliable sources, we understand that government may honor in some way, somehow, the bonds that you have, except that if you sign on to the new deal, there's a better option for you. What do you think about that? Okay, we'll get to that shortly. Let's do the social media polls now. Of course, we took to Facebook to find out your comments and what some of you have to say about the domestic debt exchange. And there's also the question we're asking on Facebook, the domestic debt exchange program deadline. Should government totally exempt the pensioner bondholders? Many of you have been speaking about this. It comes to the picture of course, that iconic moment, if you want to call it, of the former Chief Justice also taking part in the protest today. Elizabeth Dangma says, so will Ghana truly lack funds if it's time to pay the ex-gratia to politicians, says, I think, Rife. That's what she's asking. She goes ahead to say that if poor pensioners' money needs to be tempered with, then let's witness the same thing when your time of rule is over. I just hope that by then Ghana will not be economically stable to incur all those gargantuan expenses. I rest my case. So that's from Elizabeth as well. There's one coming through from Lotus. Lotus says, yes, they have served the country well, allow them to enjoy their retirement. Moreover, government has no social intervention in place to take care of their medical needs and others. The little money they have, and they've saved for that matter, the government wants to swallow it. pensioners have gone to IMF. So don't put that burden on them. Okay, Nana Sari says, please, she should give out all her Article 71 benefits. I guess she's talking about the former Chief Justice. And Chef Sheffrey is here. He says that it's a plus for her to come out, and you're talking about the former Chief Justice in this volume, but it could have saved the day if she had spoken earlier to avert some of these economic harshness by the Akufo-Addo administration. Okay, so these are some of the comments that are coming through. Professor Gachi, you're getting to see what Ghanaians also think about this. So what do you believe government should be doing now?
Well, I think let's address the statement your colleague made. I think it's a matter of trust. If there's any window, I think it should best come from the finance minister.
Right.
For it to be something that people can hold on to. Other than that, I think we should reject that because of the way the government has posted over the period of the debt exchange program. So you can ask your question. Let me answer.
You feel I get it now. So you simply don't trust the finance minister at this moment, not at all, until you see that official statement confirming it.
Exactly so.
Why is that the case, though? Because he says, well, let's see what happens. Well,
this is a man who has indicated a certain form of debt restructuring. He has to go back on that, set another deadline. And particularly, he openly said pensioners are not part, and pension funds are not part. But now, he has changed that position. So if somebody is changing position like that, it is difficult to do hearsay from close associate and announce that to the country that that is a position that is coming. I believe that is dangerous. So until we hear from him, we don't have to, And I feel for the pensioners so much. I also do know that there are so many individual bondholders and pensioners there who don't want to talk. They want people to speak for them. And I think we're happy to see the former Chief Justice today to speak her mind to the authorities to appreciate the category within which the pensioners are. There are parliamentarians who have made investment from which they use the coupon to cater for their constituency. They are also there. They are not talking. There are ministers in this government who have made huge investment. They are not talking. So I think nobody is against the debt exchange program. But for this category of people, something should be done to protect them.
And just before we go, Prof, for those who are not able to paint that mental picture, what would be the worst case scenario, the direct impact on the economy if these people are not exempt?
Well, you can just see those people who are talking about medicine. They cannot buy their medicine, and perhaps they will die earlier than they're supposed to stay. So that will be a reflection of the program on them. Nobody will be there to cater for them. This economy doesn't have any social protection for the aged. So it's a huge concern. And even that, the fact that we succeed in the debt exchange program does not mean that the financial sector will not have huge problem with liquidity, will not have problem with erosion of their capital base. It will take a very long time for some of the financial institutions to start paying dividend to their shareholders. These are reflections we will be having in the financial sector, both pensions, insurance companies, banks, etc. So that will be there. And the individuals who use the bond proceeds as means of income, those income will not be there, and suffering will set in.
Right. Professor Gachi, thank you for joining us. Let's run off. Of course, Dr. Felix Nyako is on, Daniel Ochema-Poagyei. I'll give the final words to you. Let me start off with you, Dr. Nyako. Dr. Nyako, if you can hear me, kindly unmute so we can get the points you're making.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. I would want for the finance minister to be trusted. He needs to be firm. He needs to come out and say exactly what he wants and what Ghanaians expect. So for me, going forward, I would want the individual bondholders, especially the pensioners, to be exempted. Your colleague, George Wafi, made it to understand that they have about 70% of people who are interested in signing in onto the debt exchange program. And I think that at least that is okay. So exempting the individual bondholders and the pensioners from it wouldn't harm the program at all. So going forward, government should learn that you do not borrow to the extent that you can't pay. We need to cut our coat according to our size. Thank you very much.
Nyako. Daniel Ochema-Poagyei, let me give you the final word. But here's what we also want to do, since we're hearing from you on social media as well. The details of our Zoom link will be on the screens now. Let's open up. Let's, of course, get a sense of how you're equally scared that you may be affected out of this domestic debt exchange program. Share your thoughts with us via Zoom. And, of course, you can be a part of the show today. So that's what we'll do. Daniel Ochema-Poagyei, your thoughts as we wrap up?
I would say is that I wish we have a successful end to this, and there's an opportunity to reconsider, even after the deadline, to reconsider the pensioners. That would be an option that I would support. If there isn't, then I want to hope that the government will have a way to talk to them so that they don't run out of cash for medicine to die. No, that's not what we want for Ghanaians. And yes, I support some of the effects that the professor, some of the effects that the professor has said. But on the flip side, if you look at what is happening, and not to say that I'm anti-banking, no, but I believe that if government is unable to absorb a lot more money, or is unable to be credible enough to be giving money, the banks, if they have money, should be looking at private sector and begin to earn real income so that we can take advantage of what has happened. Private sector gets money, creates more jobs, and support economic growth. Mostly, we have seen that most banks, most commercial banks in the past have always been pushing the money towards government, and rightly so, because of the level of risk. But then, given what is going on, I'm sure if they still do have money, the rich sector or the private sector will begin to see some opportunities where banks now begin to pay them a little bit of attention, pick them up, hold them, incubate them, and grow them so that we can create more jobs to support what is happening. I believe there's some opportunity in this crisis, even though it's not what we wanted, but we should look for the opportunities and not miss it.
Okay, you have the Zoom details now on the screens, so you can be a part of the show. But one more issue with you before you go. Don't you feel that this is affecting the fortunes of your party, knowing that you're seeking to break the 8 as well?
Affecting the fortunes of what?
Your party, your political party, the NPP.
Our political party?
Precisely.
Oh, of course. Obviously, I mean, when people are losing money and they're having issues, there's going to be a lot of issues. It definitely may have some effect. But I can tell you, I mean, 2 years from now, or 1 year, 8 years from now, it's a long time. I sincerely believe that if we're able to go through this IMF program, the economy will begin to pick up. And when it does, people will begin to see that the MPP has solutions. Even though we admit that we are in crisis, we can discuss it, debate it, but if it comes to talking about who becomes the next president or who wins the next election, the debate is going to be on sector by sector. And I tell you, that the MPP will cross over.
Okay. Let's see how that unfolds. But I'm grateful, Daniel
Right,
Achimabwaji, former government spokesperson on finance, to Dr. Felix Nyako and Professor John Gachi for joining us on that conversation. Don't forget that you can be a part of the show now. The details, Zoom details there on the screen. Meeting ID 79779403589 with the passcode of 526991. So let's get to Facebook. A lot of you have, of course, some comments that we haven't read yet. Of course, there's a need to get to that very quickly and also take your thoughts on what you think about the domestic debt exchange, because on Facebook, Joy News is asking a question as to whether or not the views and the demands of the individual pensioner bondholders should be, of course, accepted by government. And many of you have been commenting on that. So let's get back to Facebook and see some of the comments that you're putting on there and sharing with us. We'll get to that very shortly. Don't forget that you're still watching The Pulse here on the Joy News channel, but we'll do all of that when we get back from this break. And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Let's get back to social media, but in the meantime, don't forget that you have the details of our Zoom connection on your screens coming up shortly. Just giving you a sense of what others are also saying on social media while we wait for you to join the Zoom conversation. Of course, the meeting ID is there. Today, it appears that it's all over because you would not be able to sign on to the domestic debt exchange program. But of course, share your thoughts with us on how government has approached this so far. Some of the comments on social media there. So we've done Chef Sherry, but now let's deal with Agoma Patrick, who's on Facebook as well. He says that government should use the ex-gratia for the domestic debt exchange program and leave the poor pensioners alone. Why can't government cut down its expenditure, but rather wants the bondholders to cut down their income? Ken, he believes, is a very wicked and heartless leader. Dear God, please deliver us from the administration, he continues to say. Bra Bana says that no, they shouldn't. In fact, they should find a way to include media houses and heavily burden them so that it affects journalists and their salaries as well. That's coming through from Brabana. Of course, that's your view as well. So let's just welcome some of you who are joining us, of course, on Zoom. So let's start off. Kindly introduce yourself and then share your thoughts. Okay, it appears we're having challenges getting through there. Of course, we'll get your thoughts shortly, but if you're on, just unmute and of course, just share your thoughts with us. There's more, there's a lot of comments as well that many of you are equally sharing on social media. We'll get to that shortly. Hello there, welcome to The Pulse, and let me hear your thoughts.